Sihlalo ohloniphekile namalunga eParlamente bahlali bonke base South Africa. Namuhla ngisukuma nokukhulu ubuhlungu nokudumala enhlizweni yami ngalesi sabelo mali. Mhlambe ngisayiqala nje lenkulumo yami ngifisa ukuveza ngokusobala ukuthi umkhonto wesizwe party uyaphikisana nalesi sabelo mali. In other words, we reject budget vote 37. Lesi sabelo mali asinabo ubulungiswa kubantu base South Africa futhi asihlangabezani and asikhulumi lutho ngezidingo zezinkumbi zabantu bakithi abahluphekayo nabangathathi lutho entweni. Le budget kahle kahle ayilethi izinguquko kumkhakha wezemidlalo, ubuciko namasiko. Sports, arts and culture is the soul and cornerstone of the nation. Yet, honorable members, that soul is bleeding. The Access report of 25 April 2025 confirms what we already know. The department incurred irregular expenditure of 1.3 billion in 2024-25 alone, due to non-compliance with the procurement laws and payments to service providers who did not deliver the promised services. Over 92 million in the National Arts Council and National Film and Video Foundation was spent on projects without proper verification of impact or delivery. The department continues to roll over funds year after year, unable to spend what is allocated. This is not a shortage of money. This is a shortage of proper planning, integrity, and political will. The department's own APP report exposes brutal truths. Kukhona ukubandlulula okuhleliwe la kwingqalasizinda yezemidlalo namaciko. Izinsiza zigxile kakhulu eindaweni zalaba abadla izambane likapondo. Ezindaweni zasemakhaya nasezikoleni akwakhiwa lutho. Awekho ama-swimming pools, hockey fields, tennis courts, netball fields, and no art centers. Ihlazo ezikoleni olibonayo izingane zigcina zivula ama-ground ebhola ezikhotheni zibeke induku ngapha nangapha zakhe ipali. Kodwa kontaba gayikhonjwa ujiki khona nekhona banazo zonke lezi zinto zixhaphakile nje eindaweni zabo. Emakhaya bahlangana ngaphansi kwezihlahla belolonga amathalente abo, becula besina baze basike namathini nezigubhu, bakhe iziginci namadrums. Noma bezama kangaka bayavalelwa amathuba okuveza abakwenzayo ukuze nabo bathole uxhaso, baxoshe nekati eziko. Kwaze kwayihlazo ke lokhu leli ukuthi amaciko akithi noma libonakala ithalente kodwa bacindezelwe akekho onendaba. Imiphakathi yathenjiswa ama-art centers. Lawa ama-art centers akhiwa, iningi lawo ashiwa phakathi kwangaqedwa ukwakhiwa. Kuphela nje kwadliwa imali. Northwest kune multipurpose center enkulu akade yakhiwa yashiwa ingaphelile. Le ndawo siyaphenduka indawo yokuzikhulula kweinkomo nezimbuzi kunokuba le ndawo isiza umphakathi neyouth esithola idla idakamizwa ngoba akukho okubaqoqozelayo okuyimidlalo. Le ndawo isivele yaba umhume wabaphangi, inkundla yezigebengu. Ngikhuluma ngenkohlakalo engayixoxelwanga but ngayibonela ngalawa wamamehlo. I-portfolio committee hambele le ndawo. Akuyona yodwa le ndawo eshiwe Dengwane kodwa ziningi. KZN kune Jumbo Art Center ePietermaritzburg. Iphelile indaba yayo, ibolile ama-artist amaningi abesebenzisa yona. Seyaba nje into engaziwa, kukho manzi, kukho gesi, kuguge yonke into, akufakwa mali ukuthi kulungiswe ngoba vele iseyindaweni zabantu abantulayo abangenalutho. Uhulumeni ongenandaba nabantu abaswele. Uhulumeni uthule nje kuntshontshe imali ngapha nangapha yabahluphekayo yabakhokhi bentela. The much touted Mzansi golden economy is failing grassroots artists. Instead of building district level hubs for creativity, funds have gone to ceremonies, big works events and VIP catering. Lo mnyango waka sports, arts and culture uhlezi uhluleka ukufeza izithembiso zawo. Wathembisa ukuvula amathuba emsebenzi through the creative sector stimulus. However, the APP indicates that this indicator was entirely missing from the initial plans and was only added to the final APP after it was highlighted by the Auditor General of South Africa. Infrastructure targets are repeatedly postponed. Projects such as the rollout of national school sports facilities remain incomplete, leaving students without safe places to train or play. Okukazi kwakhala nyonini kulo hulumeni osube khona iminyaka engaphezulu kwamashumi amathathu, but ayikho intuthuko ebonakalayo kwimiphakathi ehlwempu. Kusafana nje nokuthi sisaphila kuhulumeni wobandlululo. Angiyiphathi ke eyibonelelo kanye nezinhlelo. Isabelo mali sincane kakhulu. The total DSAC budget for 2025-26 is 5.2 billion, a mere 0.2% of total consolidated government expenditure. The National Arts Council funding remains around 117 million. Okuyimali enganele ukuthi ngabhekana nezidingo zamaciko nalabo abasafufusa. Honorable Chairperson, the National Development Plan envisioned a nation where sports and culture unite communities, promote social cohesion, and create jobs. But the reality is clear. The department contributes almost nothing to job creation targets of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. Youth unemployment stands at over 60.8%, yet the creative sector has been left underfunded and fragmented. Umnyango usitshela ukuthi ufaka isandla kuhlelo lokubuyiswa komnotho kodwa sibona imali efakwa incane kakhulu. Uzobuya kanjani kanti lo mnotho uma ubuqopholo budla lubi kanje? At this pace, we will not meet the NDP goals even by 2050. Uma ngingabala nje okunye okuyimbiko ehlasimulisa umzimba, the KwaZulu-Natal Museum lost 10.9 million in planned upgrades redirected due to procurement failures. The department's own audit revealed over 23 million allocated for cultural events disappeared into administrations with no traceable outcomes. Kuneyimali nje inyamalala emehlweni sibhekile zingaziwa. Honorable Chairperson, as Utata Nelson Mandela once said, a nation should not judge by how it treats its highest citizens, but its lowest ones. Kodwa namuhla abaculi, imbonga, abadansi, abasubathi, and youth in rural and township communities are still the lowest ones in the government priorities. Abaziwa nokuthi bawobani ezweni sakhile babukelwa phansi. Lesi sabelo mali sikhase kakhulu impilo yobukhazikhazi, but abantu bakithi bayafa indlala balambile benawo ama-talent abangayiphilisa ngawo, kodwa uhulumeni ubanyathele ngeenyawo. Uhulumeni ugijima nemicimbi esezingeni eliphezulu yomntakabani. Umkhonto wesizwe phathi ufuna ukubona abantu bonke bephila ngokulingana, yonke imiphakathi ehlwempu iphumelela. Lesi sabelo asisizi umuntu, asilethi noluncane uguquko, but kuntshontshwa imali kuxhashazwa abantu abangenalutho. Ma-South Africans amahle, umkhonto wesizwe ugalelekile, yonke le nkohlakalo esiyibonayo siyibeka obala. Iphoyisa elikhulu umkhwanazi uyeza uzonibamba one by one, nizoyithetha inyani. For these reasons, the AMK party cannot support budget vote 37. Amandla!
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honorable members, the late Nelson Mandela once said, and I quote, "Sport can create hope where there were once only despair. It is more powerful than government in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in the face of all types of discrimination," unquote. Minister Mackenzie, I want to talk to you about the plight and aspirations of hundreds and thousands of athletes and artists who dedicate their lives to their craft. I want to talk to you about the allocation of resources, their needs, and whether athletes receive the support they deserve to excel in their respective fields. Having served on this portfolio committee in 2010, I commend the current committee for bringing a fresh perspective and a dynamic approach to this domain. They've injected a much-needed vibrancy, holding entities accountable for every cent spent. It is high time that this department must wake up and smell the coffee. Minister, I want to talk to you what's really going on beneath the surface of a 6.31 billion rand. The performance of indicator related to reports on heritage facilities has been omitted from the 2025-2026 annual performance plan. The Artists in Schools program, which target youth, and it is referenced in the 2025-26 annual performance plan, has been halted, despite being clearly outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding between the department as well as the Department of Basic Education. What is even more concerning is that the budget allocated for sub-program 1 is facing a decrease of 28.7 million rand, despite the minister's directive on program 350 pertaining to the Olympics. Leadership instability has become a persistent issue, with acting appointments is now a norm in the department. This continual reliance on temporary roles undermines the organizational instability and hampers overall effectiveness in the department. It appears that governance is not a priority, as the department's annual performance plan no longer includes an indicator that addresses the governance of public entities that report to it. The performance indicator related to reports on heritage facility has been omitted from the 2025-2026 annual performance plan. This contradicts the minister's stated commitment to supporting programs, athletes, and heritage facilities. We need to scrutinize these decisions and ensure that athletes and cultural institutions receive the support they deserve. Minister, I want to draw your attention to the pattern of misconduct within the department. In 2017, a former minister of sport took a trip to Dubai and was paid for by a company linked to SASCOC. An arrangement that raises serious questions about conflict of interest and ethical governance. Another of your predecessors approved an annual payment of approximately 1 million since 2016 to a so-called cricket school, which is not even recognized by any official sports federations. The only link we could find that was an allegation of his son attended the school. These examples illustrate a worrying history of questionable decisions and blurred lines between public duty and private interests. It is in this context that I urge you to take decisive action and to restore dignity and integrity and transparency and also accountability in this sector. Minister, I want to talk to you about serious allegations of nepotism, favoritism, and potentially bought and tender flawed processes involving individuals who are members of your party. Names such as Eugene Botha, Dr. Ralph Links, Bishop Blennies, Bernardo Maralak, Jonas White, Houston Francis, and Liesl Pennicking, among others. We fought against these things in the past, and we should ensure that the sector does not get captured. Minister, I want to talk to you about soccer. Yes, soccer, and not about LeJohn Soccer Club or the now defunct Royal AM Football Club. I want to talk to you about SAFA's financial crisis, mismanagement, and millions that has gone just wrong. Despite bailouts, their inability to cover basic expenses like salaries, food, and transport. Minister, I want to talk to you about netball, boxing, as well as Athletics South Africa. Netball South Africa received 90 million rand in a public funding to the Netball World Cup. Yet, more than 2 years later, the committee did not have any way to interrogate their reports. The delay is concerning given the president of Netball is currently under investigation for financial misconduct. Allegations, Athletics South Africa crisis ranges from deregistration saga, police presence at the elections, misusing of athletes' funds in shebeens, hotels, and clothing shops. The DA is concerned, Minister, about the department's oversight and management of issues such as Sarah Baartman, the project that came to a standstill. No tombstone yet, no restoration to date, no visitors allowed, only a gate that has been locked for more than a year as established during my visit in Henke on Sunday. Minister, given the department's decision to halt funding for flagship events that contribute to the economy, it is shocking that just 3 working days before the end of the 2024-2025 financial year, the department, through a letter, committed a 5 million rand in partial funding to the Belito July Experience project through the Ilembe Economic Development Agency. Where is the Department of Tourism then? The reason was to attract sustained tourism. This raises questions about the department's priorities and the policy framework guiding such decisions. And also, when being contacted by the media, it was the department who refrained from giving a comment. Minister, the time for rhetoric has passed. The sector needs principled leadership that restores our dignity, that delivers impact, and put South Africa's artists and its athletes first. I thank you.
Greetings to
All
the
honorable
President
members.
and Commander-in-Chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters, commissars, fighters, and fellow South Africans. Allow me to begin by extending revolutionary invitation to the people of South Africa to join us in celebrating the 12th anniversary of the EFF on the 26th July 2025 at Khayelitsha Rugby Stadium. House Chair, the EFF rejects the proposed budget. This budget fails to reflect the critical and specific needs of a sector that remains deeply untransformed, but controlled by foreign multinationals, the white monopoly capital, and disconnected from the daily lived realities of the dejected masses of our people. The department lacks a coherent diagnosis of the crisis facing the arts. Artists continue to die poor due to DSAC's short-term based, unsustainable and patronizing interventions. The budget lacks vision, courage, and decisive transformation agenda. It fails to pursue the urgent task of decolonizing and democratizing the landscape of sports, arts, culture, and heritage sector. Instead, it reflects a profound disconnection from the realities of our communities, particularly Black Africans who continue to be marginalized and excluded from the mainstream economy opportunities within this sector. Sport in South Africa continues to mirror the broad structural inequalities of our society, including entrenched economic imbalances and patriarchal norms. Sports sponsorship in South Africa remains racially biased, with Black athletes often overlooked, underfunded, unsupported, and excluded even by the Mzansi golden economy. Where is transformation charter in rugby, cricket, golf, and tennis? There is a glaring absence of Black head and assistant coaches in top-tier competitions like Super Rugby and Currie Cup. And what has the minister done to address this entrenched inequality? Absolutely nothing. These are damning indictments of a system that privileges whiteness while consigning Black artists, actors, and athletes to precarity, neglect, and even erasure in death. This a shameless betrayal of transformation, where the minister facilitates a lucrative 50 million deal for his own biological son to acquire SuperSports United. Yet when it comes to national soccer development, he unlawfully approves a mere 5 million, not 50 million, a mere 5 million advance for SAFA salaries, an amount diverted from funds intended to expand women participation in soccer. Yet Banyana, the pride of this nation, continues to play under exploitative conditions. No parity, no professionalism, and no bonuses. Their success stems not from the department's support, but from their own sacrifice. This is not patriotism, Minister, it is hypocrisy. Minister, government is not a prison cell block or some underground syndicate run through family proxies. Despite the minister's demagogic and populist rhetoric of putting South Africans first, he remains intentionally blind to the ongoing postmodern cultural colonization, whereby American and European artists, actors, and producers are afforded preferential treatment over South African talent. These international figures are paid exorbitant fees, while local artists, actors, and film producers are systematically marginalized, denied opportunities, recognition, and relevance in their own country, Minister. Today, House Chair, we are being asked to endorse a budget with no clear industrialization strategy for performing arts, and no cultural economy policy that recognizes creatives as professionals instead of perpetual hustlers. Hidden in his budget is a 32 million for 16 so-called creative and cultural sector clusters boards with no legal mandate, no framework, no accountability to Parliament. In response to the ill-conceived cluster boards and the continued dysfunction of unaccountable entities such as SIFSA, SAMIC, and Downtown Music Hub, whose very leaders now sit in the minister's newly formed structures, the EFF will introduce a private members' bill titled the South African Confederation for Creative and Cultural Industry, in short, SACI Bill. A legitimate, transparent, an accountable structure that will govern the sector, protect creative practitioners, ensure the equitable distribution of public resources, and further serve as a regulator and an industry ombudsman, fully accountable to Parliament, empowered to bring order, transparency, and justice to the creative and cultural sector. Minister, we cannot claim true freedom while Iziko and other museums across South Africa continue to imprison the stolen sacred human remains of over 1,000 African ancestors victims of a discredited pseudo-scientific racial project. We therefore demand that they are immediately repatriated to the rightful communities. Why do we still have colonial symbols, Minister, in our public spaces, despite Cabinet having taken a clear decision to have them removed? Minister, all colonial symbols must fall. House Chair, EFF rejects this budget.
Thank you, House Chairperson. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture has one of the most powerful mandates in this government: to build social cohesion, create jobs, and empower young people in every community across South Africa. It is a department that touches identity, talent, and economic potential. Yet, when we turn to this budget, the picture is frustratingly mixed. On paper, 6.3 billion rand in 25-26, growing to 19.1 billion rand over the medium term, offers real potential. We welcome the projected creation of up to 38,000 jobs in the arts and creative industries. We also support the infrastructure rollout of 54 new libraries and 30 community gyms and play parks. These are the kinds of projects that reach to the grassroots young people in rural villages and township communities, especially women, artists, and local athletes who have long been shut out of opportunity. For many of them, this is not just about facilities. It is about dignity, hope, and a future that finally includes them. We support the department's equity focus, but support must be matched with scrutiny. We are deeply concerned about the decline in funding for the Mzansi Golden Economy, dropping by 19.5% annually after this year. This program is the engine of job creation in the creative sector, and we cannot allow it to wither due to poor planning or shifting political priorities. Chairperson, over 80% of this department's budget is transferred to provinces and entities. That is about 5 billion rand in 25-26 alone. But what are we getting in return? How many libraries are built? How many jobs are verified? How many community arts programs sustained after one financial year? For every one of these unanswered questions, there's a young person left without opportunity, a community without hope, and a promise left empty. This is where oversight must be tightened. Parliament must ensure that this budget is properly used by the department, openly and transparently. Honourable Chairperson, we must also speak plainly about leadership. The Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mr. Gayton McKenzie, has a duty to lead with integrity, transparency and consistency. And yet he has repeatedly failed to attend portfolio committee meetings, at least 15 absences, including key hearings on his 90 million rand VAR rollout promise. His absence is not only weakens oversight, but also signals a disturbing pattern of disregard for parliamentary accountability, an essential pillar of democratic governance. We cannot afford a department that governs by a Twitter thread, while accountability to this House is ignored. Chairperson, the DA remains committed to communities we serve. We want a department that creates sustainable creative jobs, libraries that are opened, staffed, and accessible, sports facilities that are not ghost projects, and leadership that respects Parliament and the people. We support the intention of this budget, but we will continue to hold this department accountable until that intention becomes a delivery. I thank you.
Life of an artist, bad shot by spices, glorifying drugs as a stage fright cure. You can try this just when you're about to grab your chance of staging. Excitement, you can't think out this industry, or should I say this killer dream, cause you will swear that from the start it was designed to kill artists. Bangakulwela when days are bright, as a human being on Instagram, too much pressure, unrealistic expectations. Whoever said that artists are perfect, is with us, singiza remedies within us, as
little, little, little,